Hello, I'm Jen. Hope you're doing well. I'm not 100% sure who's here or who's not, but if you can, please drop in the chat where you're from. I love to see where people are joining from today. So uh, go on over to the chat and let's see. Okay, I'm seeing some stuff. I haven't used Riverside in a while, so this is cool. Glad to see. Okay, I've got London and Portugal. All right, Italy. Oh, this is great. I love seeing this. Thank you for sharing where you are coming from. All right, got someone from Baltimore and Barcelona. This is awesome. And Eindhoven. Yeah, cool. All right, thank you for sharing. I am in Frisco, Texas. If anybody knows where that is near Dallas, Texas, in the United States. But love to hear, drop in the chat where you're coming from, because I got someone from Paris here, and Switzerland, and Scotland. This is great. Thank you for sharing where you're from. I love that. I guess who's the winner right now? Baltimore, I guess, is the closest to me right now as far as distance. Um, but that's okay. I don't need close people. I love to see people from all over the globe. So, okay, you can see my screen. Yes, you can see it like a doggo. Just want to make sure you can see it before I get started. And I'm not seeing anybody say yes. Can you see my screen? Give me a yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Kelby. I appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And today I'm going to talk about ways to build better, stronger connections with less cringe. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to start off with some scenarios. Some of these I think you might be able to relate to. So maybe you love networking. And if I asked you to raise your hand, do you love networking? I would suspect I would not see a lot of hands up because a lot of people do not love networking, right? Maybe you consider yourself an introvert and you also are not a huge fan of networking. Perhaps you're not sure what to talk about when you meet new people. You don't want to sound like a dork, but so you hesitate to start a conversation. And maybe you've sent a DM or direct message to someone in LinkedIn. You know, the kind of message that says, hey, I'd like to pick your brain. Do you have 15 minutes for a chat? Maybe something like that. And perhaps you've met someone on an event. Maybe you've met someone today, but you haven't followed up with them later after the event. You know, you wanted to reach out to them, but you forgot or you got busy or you didn't know what to talk about. I mean, it happens to all of us. So I'm going to address these concerns and more in my talk today. I'm going to talk about how to network, some tips for my introvert friends here, better topics to chat about, and how to break into other professionals' LinkedIn DMs, you know, how to make connections. And I'm going to talk about this later, but I'm going to tell you what the professionals say about connecting with them via LinkedIn and how to build relationships. And you know what I'm not going to talk about today? How to get AI to do the networking for you. Okay, I don't know. Is that even a thing? I don't know. If you thought this is what we're going to talk about, no, you are in the wrong spot. Today is about making human connection. Oh, and really quickly, I'll introduce myself. I'm Jen Blatz or Jennifer Blatz on LinkedIn. Please come find me and connect with me on LinkedIn after the talk. I also run a YouTube channel called BlatzChatz, so if you want to check out some of my videos over there, I would greatly appreciate it. But let's get back to the topic at hand. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Honestly, I do not love to network. I love to meet people. I love the connections that I make. I love the things that I learn from other people. And I love having a network of people when I need some help or I need an answer to something. And I'm going to share a little bit about how I did that for some research for this talk a little bit later. And I have another little secret, and that is that I like dogs a lot. So you're probably going to see some dogs in this presentation. I hope you're okay with that. And I bet you're thinking, Jen, I already know how to network. Well, do you think you know everything about networking? I think maybe you don't. I don't know. Maybe you do. Why don't you just stick around, listen to the talk, and let's see if you might pick up something new today. I want to start off with a little bit of a bold stance. When it comes to communicating with others, here is my favorite pro tip. Use the powers that be. Be funny, be approachable, and it's okay to be vulnerable. It makes you relatable to others. But avoid the powers that don't be. Don't be a smarty pants, that person who thinks they know it all. Don't be condescending. Don't make the conversation all about you. And obviously, don't be a jerk. But I really don't love the task of networking. So I want us to think of networking in a little bit of a different way. Let's reframe it or flip it like this doggo is doing in here. Let's talk about how to reframe this dreaded networking. Reframe it as helping. Focus on how you might offer value or be helpful rather than what you need. Think of it as professional development. Treat networking as a skill you're practicing and trying to improve. And think of it as user research. Seek to understand rather than trying to pitch yourself. I want you to enter networking conversations with curiosity. Think about that for a second. Are you actually curious about others? Or are you just networking for your own personal agenda? Instead of worrying about what to say, focus on what you want to learn. And instead of feeling pressure to sell yourself, focus on understanding other people and their experiences. Remember, others feel awkward in networking too, even the extroverts. And I know because I am an extrovert, and networking just feels weird, honestly, sometimes. And many people at professional events, they feel that same hesitation of approaching strangers. Ugh, it can be really tough. And hey, introverts, I see you. Maybe not right now, but I don't hear you a lot of times when we're networking. Again, almost everybody hates networking, let's be honest. So you don't, just because you're an introvert, you don't get a free pass from networking. Nope, I'm not gonna let you get away. I do know the thought of networking can be terrifying. So I have some tactics to help you calm down that inner freak out that you might feel when you have the thought of, I have to network with strangers. So let me share some of those. First, you can buy some time and count to 3 before responding to a person's question. So, even though we're not all in the same room and I can't hear you, I want you to do this with me really quickly. Easy exercise. Let's practice this. What I want you to do is count to 3 out loud with me, okay? Are you ready? Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Whew, look, we're still here. Counting to 3 does some really powerful things. It gives you a little bit of time to formulate a thought. Also, it creates space. If you're in a group setting, if you're counting to 3, it's likely someone else will chime in because people hate awkward silence. So it buys you some time. And it also kind of positions you as a thoughtful observer rather than some anxious participant. Next, you can find low energy virtual network options like hanging out in GatherTown today and chatting with some people. That's a great way to start small with networking. So you can also use platforms like LinkedIn. You can make comments on other people's posts. You can retweet somebody on X. You can get into Slack and Discord groups. Now, I don't want you to just lurk in there and just read anything. Contribute to the conversation. Apply and state your point of view on something. These small, really low pressure engagements, they help to build familiarity around you in these communities. And it's not as hard as this dreaded networking. And you can also, for my introvert friends, you can also use those strengths that you have. You can prepare some conversation starters, have 2 or 3 questions ready to break the ice and start a conversation with folks. You can use active listening. Introverts excel at deep listening. And when you do that, that makes the other person feel valued. And this is really to your advantage. And focus on one-on-one interactions. You can talk to individuals. Don't feel like you have to work a big group or the big room. So like I've been talking about, start small and build gradually. Like this cute little doggo here. He's going to start small. Begin with maybe set a goal for yourself. 1 new conversation a week or sending 1 DM a week on LinkedIn. And one little cheat sheet here that you can do, you can start with connections that you already know. Maybe that's somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Start there and start having a conversation. And I've mentioned this already. Think about it as focusing on value, like the quality over quantity, right? Having small little discussions, small numbers of people can really be great rather than a whole bunch of surface level ones. So remember, instead of worrying about making a great impression, focus on listening deeply to others. I mean, you know this. People love to talk about themselves, right? So use that to your advantage. Ask open-ended questions and encourage other people to share. Okay, and maybe you're not the introvert. So us extroverts, we need to help our introvert friends out and bring them into the conversation. And we can do this by saying, oh, hey, Alex, what do you think? Bring them in. So remember, when it comes to networking, everyone was a beginner at one point, right? So focus on progress, not perfection. All right. So I said have a couple questions handy in your pocket, right, for starting conversations. And the most common one I hear, and you've probably heard this too, if you've heard this, give me a yes in the chat. When you are talking with somebody, they ask, what do you do? Like, what do you do for your profession? Anybody heard that? Throw that a yes in the chat if you've ever heard anybody, or ask that yourself, right? But I'm going to say that this is not really the best question to ask when you're networking, and here's why. Think about it. What if you aren't working? What if you've been laid off, or you're a student, or you're trying to find a job? It's a little awkward to answer, what do you do? Also, this question is, let's face it, not culturally aligned to some people and to what they value. Sure, I'll tell you, in the United States, we're very work focused, but other cultures prioritize family and other ways to define success. And finally, this question, it reduces us to our jobs. And there are honestly, way more interesting things to talk about than what we do. So let's face it, when we have a conversation about more casual topics, not just our jobs, you can have some more interesting chats. So I'm going to give you a couple frameworks that you can use to chat with people. And you're going to talk about more interesting things. And you might discover some topics that you might bond more about. And this can help you create more meaningful relationships, which ultimately that's the outcome of networking. And this is really what we're striving for, ultimately. So when we talk about more casual topics and interesting topics, a lot of times we tell stories, right? And you've heard of the power of storytelling, correct? Yeah, we hear this all the time. Tell stories. Well, when you tell stories, the person who's listening to you, their brain switches into movie mode. Like this doggo here watching a movie with his owner. Uh, when you tell stories, you share details that are interesting, maybe that others relate to, or that they also find interesting. And people get sucked into your stories. And that makes you more memorable. So let's keep this simple. I'm going to share a couple frameworks with you that you can use these on your next encounter of meeting new people. Maybe you could try these out today. First one is high, low, buffalo. If you have heard of this framework, this was kind of new to me. Drop me a yes in the chat if you've, or a no if you have not heard this. Have you heard of the high, low, buffalo? So this is a way that you can have conversations and share some experiences. And you have people share three things. A positive event, that's the high. A challenging event, that's the low. And a surprising or random moment, and that's the buffalo. Because buffaloes are pretty rare to see, so I think that's how it got its name, high, low, buffalo. So it can be from your day or just a recent period. And what I like about this approach is it skips the small talk, and you can help start to understand people on a bit of a deeper level. So here's my example of a high-low buffalo. So last night, I had a meeting, met up with a friend, and we talked about how shitty stakeholders can be. The low part was actually remembering how shitty stakeholders can be. And the buffalo, so I was in a meeting yesterday, and someone showed up with their shirt not buttoned. Thankfully, it was a man. So, see how that works? So here's another framework you can use. You just ask people to state their FORD. And FORD stands for family, occupation, recreation, which is like what they like to do, and dreams, what a person hopes or wishes for in their life. And this is really good in a group setting because it's a simple way for people to kind of go around the group and introduce themselves. Think of it as like a mini elevator pitch. And then if there's something the group wants to follow up with, ask more questions, or maybe they feel a connection about some of those things. And that's really the cool thing about having this FORD framework. So the benefit of having these frameworks is to help you jumpstart a conversation. Remember, people love talking about themselves. So use this to your advantage. Make it all about them. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about direct messages or DMs through a social media platform like LinkedIn. Have you ever kind of reached out to somebody in LinkedIn that you didn't really know? Maybe sent them a DM, wanted their advice? Have you ever done that? Write yes if you've done it, or no if you have not done it in the chat. I think that most of us have. So I wanted to get some behind the scenes data to understand what's going on. What do people think when they get DMs like that? What does it take for that person to respond to you? So, are you ready for me to unlock that for you? That is such like an AI word, right? Unlock and delve. Remember, I said this was not going to be an AI talk, right? Okay, so I'm sure a lot of us have heard this, the written message, or you've either written it or said it or read it. And it says like, hi, can you hop on a 30-minute virtual coffee chat so I can pick your brain? I mean, I'm sure that, some of us have done that. It's okay. So I did some research, and I want you to know that this research I conducted was really fast. I am a researcher. And I reached out to 60 UX professionals via DM in LinkedIn, and I heard from 40 within 24 hours. All right, so why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this for a couple reasons. Research can be fast. Don't let them tell you it can't be fast. That's a lie. And also, when you build a strong network, it can be great to tap into when you need help fast. So here are some of the folks that I heard back from. Maybe some of these faces look familiar. Some of them are speaking at this conference the next few days. And so just again, some folks I heard back within 24 hours. So this was my research question. When it comes to DMs in LinkedIn and a person wants to like set up some time with you, basically what, if anything, could that person write that would entice you to respond and actually set up time with them? Okay, so UX pros, this is what they told me it would take for a person who is sending a message to them to set up time. But before I go into what they said, I want to think about something a little bit. I want you to understand who you're reaching out to. As a UX person, hey, we need to have empathy, right? And here's why. Because I want you to keep these things in mind when you're messaging other people. Put yourself in their shoes. Inboxes are flooded, time is finite, and with everyone, relationships matter. So let's dive into time a little bit, right? Attention is scarce. A lot of people, we just don't have extra time. And we need to carefully balance how we use our time, right? Some people I heard from, they said, I need to prioritize my time for my job and my family. Also, time is money. A lot of people own their own business and they need to charge for their time. So when you're asking for a meeting, you're asking them to take time away from billable hours. And that's actually a big ask. And people have different amounts of energy to devote to conversations. You need to think about your own capacity and mental health, right? One person said to me that they can't give back if their cup is half empty. So not everybody is open to mentoring or chatting. It's nothing personal, just not everybody has the time or the willingness to do that. And socializing costs a lot of extra energy, especially for introverts. And I'm not sharing these things to be harsh or to make you upset or even prohibit you from sending a note at all. I don't want that. I just want you to realize what might be happening on the other end of the message that you send. So let's dive in to what they said. And because I am the kind of person who focuses on the negative side of things, can't help it, that's how I roll. I'm going to talk about what you should not say in a LinkedIn message, or any platform for that matter. Do not ask for a job, a LinkedIn review, a referral to a job opening, a resume review, or mentorship, because that requires building a relationship. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. Here's some things that people don't really love for you to say. Don't say, "Can I pick your brain?" Or ask for a virtual coffee. A coffee is a meeting, which takes time. Don't say, "Oh, we just want to chat." Maybe some folks are not looking for more friends to chat with. Don't ask how to get into UX or even how they got into UX, because every path is different. Some pros said don't ask for a 15 or 30-minute call. I mean, think about it, do the math. If I agreed to 4 30-minute calls per day, that's 2 hours. And that's a big chunk of my day. And that's time away from family and friends. Now, here's some things that you should not do when you're sending messages in LinkedIn. Don't ask about things that you can easily find on your own, on AI or the internet. It just kind of wastes their time. Don't ask for a meeting and then stand the person up, not show up. That's not cool. And don't come unprepared. And what I mean is, don't come without some questions. You set up this meeting, you should come up with some questions that you want answers to. Don't try to sell them something or be pushy or rude. And don't hit on people. Do I even need to say that? Okay, now you know what not to do. Let's talk about the things that you can do to send thoughtful messages in LinkedIn that will actually get you responses. So the pros I ask want you to be clear about your questions and your requests. Make sure the question is simple and direct and easy to answer. Be clear about your intentions. Be concise and have a relevant request. It's okay to have a small ask to start with. And show that you're not just doing this for self-gain. Like I said, don't ask for a job or a referral. Those are just things that you want, and that doesn't feel cool. And the pro said, tell them what you, the person sending the message, have done to answer your own question. Show that you've put in a little bit of effort. But don't just be clear, be specific. You can have a low effort request that respects their time. And hey, try this different approach. Maybe don't ask for time. Instead, ask around a certain topic. And then that person can decide if it's easier to just write you back or if it's easier to set up some time with you and chat about it. Again, make sure it's all beyond like, tell me about your career, how you got onto UX. How I got into UX is going to be very different and probably not very helpful for how to get you into UX. Be specific if you do want time. Be specific at how much you're asking for. And finally, talk about your past and why you're interested in talking to this person. Give that person a little bit of context as to who you are. Amy Santee shared this with me. I really like this. I'm applying for a couple roles at ABC team, at XYZ company. Would you be open to sharing a quick take on the culture there? See? Very specific requests for information. What is a really important take here is that you want to reframe your request about the person you're writing to. Don't make it all about you, make it about them. Because flattery will get you everywhere. So here are some ways to reframe the conversation to show that you know who the person is, show you've done a little bit of research about them, and the request is specifically catered to them. Because let me tell you, if they think that you're praying and spraying, as the saying goes, sending the same generic message to multiple people, they will ignore you. So, do these things instead. Give them a compliment. Show you know something about their background. Explain why you're choosing them. Suggest how they can specifically help you. Mention how impactful their work is, if that's true, of course. And, like I mentioned, give them genuine flattery. So, here's another example I read. Hey, I used your post about onboarding metrics to shape a conversation with my PM yesterday. It completely changed how they viewed success, and I just want to say thanks. Now, this is a big one, and a lot of pros mentioned this. So, I want you to think about what this conversation you're asking for, what's in it for them? I've said it a few times, people's time is valuable, especially if they have their own consultancy and they need to charge by the hour. So, are you stating what will benefit they will get if they answer your questions? Explain how this meeting can be beneficial for both of you. And paying for their time is not the only option. So you can offer value first, share a relevant article or a resource. when you're connecting with them. You can spark their curiosity. Again, share something that might be of interest to them. This mutual benefit. Show how the conversation could be relevant for them too. And offer them something in return. Joan and Tolley shared this with me, and I really like it. He said something that somebody could say is, I don't know what I can offer you in return, but I'm happy to do anything I can and help in exchange for your valuable time. Ultimately, if you want to make a meaningful connection, you need to build a relationship with this person. It's not going to happen over one LinkedIn message. So to make a connection, I want you to focus on a few things. Get them familiar with you, because familiarity builds connections. And one way to do this is to like and reshare their posts on LinkedIn. People notice that. Show you have something in common. This can be maybe a person you both know, or you live in the same place, or you went to the same school. Create a warm tie. So Jeremy Miller shared this with me. A guy noticed a random Star Trek book on the bookshelf behind him during his podcast, and they got to talking about that. And finally, I've mentioned this a couple times, if you really want to get a person's help or their guidance, and the strongest way I know, and the data that I just shared with you from the UX pros, this is their perspective. The data shows what's helpful is to build a relationship with that person. So if they give you advice, follow up and let them know how it went. Going silent and not letting them know is just not cool. And you can build trust by offering a gesture of interest or appreciation. Make it a mutual beneficial relationship. Thank them for their time, obviously, and their advice or resource or whatever they gave you. Just treat humans like humans. And okay, we covered a lot, and I know you're probably going to forget of most of what I said. So I have one final ask for you. After the conference, maybe with someone you meet at this conference, maybe somebody you already know online, share a thoughtful insight that you gained recently, maybe from this conference, and reach out and share that with someone else to spark a conversation. Because you never know where your next opportunity might create a benefit for you in the future. So it's great to plant these seeds and to build these relationships now. Thank you very much. That is all from me. I appreciate you sticking around. And it looks like we had some technical difficulties, and I am sorry about that. You bet. Thank you. Bye.